Hey there, I'm Terrie, and I'm the intuitive healer for folks who have anxiety and want to access their soul evolution and intuition. There's more than meets the eye here as we chat and hang out in these episodes that have spiritual, esoteric, multidimensional, somatic, quantum techniques, tools, and tips to help you get unstuck and move you forward in your day-to-day life. So join me in discovering your path to help you clear anxiety of the past, align your energy to the present, and create your new future. Well, hello, and how is your heart? How's that beautiful, dynamic heart of yours? You special soul, you spiritual empath. I wanted to have a little chat. Come. Grab a seat, grab a cup of tea or coffee. So there's something that I wanted to bring up because it's something that I myself find myself putting too much focus and attention and awareness on, right? Now remember, we live in duality. The third dimension, this earthly realm that we live in, is all about polarity, and it's managing and regulating, balancing, harmonizing that polarity that helps us navigate this human experience. And being a spiritual being of divine intelligence, love, and power means we have control over our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, responses, and movements of the body, right? So a lot of the times we find ourselves, just because it's such a visceral reaction in the body, we find ourselves in this state of anxiety or anxiousness, right? Which, again, if you've listened to me before, you've followed me, you know that all anxiety is accumulated excess energy that the body is not either redirecting or moving through. And again, our bodies, the earth suit, the human body, has energy centers. So it is actually designed to move and filter energy through the body. So when we're experiencing anxiety, we're not dealing or managing or moving that energy through the body. And of course, it puts us into survival mode, right? It triggers the stories, the narratives, the untruths of our belief systems and all the things, right? So then we start using those coping skills, those coping mechanisms, because our lower soul, the human part of us, the ego, is feeling threatened. And so it does what it's supposed to do, and it does it so beautifully, which is try and protect the human body from ceasing to exist. In other words, your coping skills, your reactions and responses, your initial ones, are trying to keep you alive. And a lot of times in the transformational process, in the healing process, we're looking at the negatives of, in this particular case, we're talking anxiety, right? Because anxiety is excess energy that's not being dealt with, so it's accumulating. And we feel it in the body, which means they are light waves. That energy is light waves of a slower moving frequency, meaning the brain can actually process that energy, and then it can sense it through one of the five senses in the body. So you're feeling it in your body because those frequencies, those energies are slower in moving. So it's more material, it's more physical, which is why your body feels the anxiety. Of course, that goes ahead, like I said earlier, and it triggers us into these coping mechanisms, right? So here we are, we're in our transformation, we're on our journey, taking all the steps we're supposed to be doing, but we're not actually looking at how the anxiety is actually helping us, right? Because again, we humans have the tendency, because of the ego, to like look in one direction. But I'm here to remind everyone listening to this, and I'm reminding myself, because I myself need that reminder, that because we live in polarity, there are two sides. There's always the opposite. So here we go. We're saying anxiety is bad, anxiety is bad, anxiety is bad. And there's truth to that, because there's different levels of truth, but anxiety can also benefit us. So that's why we want to learn to balance, manage, regulate, harmonize anxiety. And that's also why we don't want to completely get rid of anxiety. We just want to be able to not be its slave. We want to have the freedom to choose when we're going to use the benefits of anxiety instead of the detriments of anxiety. So, in your life, in your experience, as this highly sensitive person who also is a people pleaser, takes one to know one, people. I'm not poo-pooing you. Takes one to know one, right? As part of, my coping survival skill is one of them is fawning, which is the people pleasing, right? It's for me, it's normal and natural because I am Jewish, and that's really how the Jewish people basically survive, is through community, is through other people. So, or with the help of other people. So it is not only intrinsically in my incarnation in this time, it's in my DNA as well. Come from a Holocaust surviving family. And, there's power in numbers. Yes. So that's a lot of where my fawning survival skills come from, people pleasing. But the anxiety, let's go back to the anxiety. How are ways that anxiety good for you, right? Like, what are the positives? So if you're like me, what anxiety does for me is it does actually give me a sense of caring. Like, I care, whether it's not just about the outcome, but oftentimes about the quality of whatever I'm working on. So not only do I want to do good, I want to do the best. So that can even mean meeting time scheduling, right? So one of the ways anxiety benefits me is it keeps me not only doing quality work, but it keeps me doing work in a timely way. And oftentimes earlier than, let's say, a deadline, or I'm on time for a deadline, right? So those are some positives, right? But of course, it's about managing the polarity, right? So what else? What are other benefits of anxiety? And you're going to have different experiences than I have, right? Because my higher soul is different than your higher soul. My higher soul is wanting to learn things differently in this incarnation than yours, right? The anxiety mixed with the fawning or the people pleasing, does make me want to be of service and help people and make them smile and make them feel better, right? So, again, I just want to point out that we live in polarity, and a lot of times what we think is negative is not always negative, or fully, I should say not always, but fully negative, right? So here's an opportunity for you through this little chat we're having to sort of do some inner reflection on yourself and give yourself credit, right? How is anxiety benefiting you, right? So now we're filling out more of the story about your particular anxiety narrative, right? So how do we balance both of those? How do we say, okay, now is not the right time to rush things, to get things done or to push or to avoid, right? And then what are the benefits by doing that and not doing that? And you're the only one that can really discern that and decipher that. No one else can do that for you because they're not in your earth suit. They don't have your cellular DNA from past lives. They don't have your ancestry, right? I mean, energy is energy, and energy doesn't give a crap about anything because, again, energy are literally subatomic particles that move in a certain pattern at a certain speed, which causes a wave of light. So when you break it down to those subatomic particles, they don't care. There's no judgment. But you'll feel it in your body if it's a lower frequency. So I'm just saying that because we live in polarity and we forget so often that with the bad comes the good, and you can't know the good without the bad, right? But that's a way to navigate this human experience. Gotta look at the positives and the benefits too. That sort of fills us up, makes us more whole as who we are, and that gives you information and data about knowing yourself. And I'm always saying, know thyself. Because when you know thyself, then you can be authentic in truth. And there are different levels of truth, right? The example in just this podcast of levels of truth is that there are benefits and detriments to having anxiety. And they can help you and they can hurt you, and they're both true. Right? So really the key is managing it. The best way to manage it is using the human body because of those energy systems that filter out the energetic frequency, because energy is always moving. Energy always moves. It doesn't just stay in one spot. It can seem like it stays in one spot for a very, very long time because of the space-time continuum. Because it takes time to move mass or matter, which is the human body, physical, through a space during a certain time period. Right? So that kind of ruins our polarity party. I don't want to say ruins it, but I want to say it makes it more difficult and gives us time to forget. But again, I don't want to just poo-poo that. I want to say it also gives us time to remember who we are. Right? So yeah, you're going to fall asleep and forget your true divine nature. And yeah, you're going to wake up and remember who the F you really are. Again, polarity. So one of the keys, there's so many freaking keys to this human blueprint, but one of the keys is really remembering and not forgetting that because we live in polarity, we really have to control, and we have the ability. We do have the ability to be those spiritual beings of divine intelligence to regulate, manage, balance, harmonize the thoughts. We're divine beings of love to manage, balance, control, regulate, harmonize our feelings. And of power, divine beings of power to regulate, manage, control, harmonize the reactions and responses of the body. And that does include speaking, because that's coming from the body, right? It's coming from your voice box. It's coming from your moving lips. It's coming from the air and the tongue forming the words. Yes, yes. So we can control this. How do we control this? By having tools that give us the access, access to the higher soul. And your higher soul has this divine knowledge, awareness of the intelligence, love, and power to place our awareness, our focus, our attention on positives. So there's just no possible way to always be positive as long as we're wearing an earth suit. You can't fake your way through positivity. And you can't always be positive. It is impossible in this third dimension of reality because of polarity and duality. So life can never be always happy or always sad. And energy is always moving, always moving. So you will have good, bad, happy, sad, fat, skinny, rich, poor. And they'll come in cycles because of the law of cycles. And there's no way to escape it. No way unless you leave your earth suit. Because these are the universal laws of the third dimension of reality, which is where the planet Earth resides. So you have to tap into that intelligence of your higher soul and overcome it. And start to balance, regulate, manage, and harmonize into the polarity. Okay? I can help you do that. I can teach you how to do that. And just because I teach you doesn't mean your problems are solved, because aha moments don't lead to aha lives. Like, you have to keep doing it on your own. You have to implement and practice all the time. That's what I have to do. I am not exempt from this at all. I have my cycles, right? I have to constantly remind myself who I am, right? Because I too go to sleep and I forget who I am because my attention is being drawn to more of the negative side of the polarity. So this can be done. And again, this is a human blueprint. And there are people who are at different levels who can control that or manage it differently and at different times. But this is all happening to our benefit for the higher soul, because the higher soul needs to have the higher soul, which is non-physical energy, has to have a physical container, a physical energy, material energy, which is the body, in order to expand itself. Okay. So I find myself often saying, being human is so hard. Right? And what is that? That is me looking in one direction of polarity. Well, I've been thinking about this myself too, in my own transformation, in my own healing, in my own consciousness expansion. Like, why am I always saying being human is hard? Right? Because it takes responsibility off of me and puts it outside of me so that I don't have to be accountable for my transformation. So I have to constantly remind myself, you know what? Being human is experiential. Being human is a learning opportunity. And being human doesn't always have to suck, because there are some joys. There are actually there are probably more joys than I give it credit for. So, listening to this episode, I hope you can just start taking a look at your own anxiety, your own coping skills and coping mechanisms, and look at how they've actually helped you and how they help you be the person that you are. Because believe me, if you have anxiety and you suffer from it, because there's a difference. You can have anxiety and you can manage it, and then you can have anxiety and you can be its bitch and you can suffer from it. Right? If you have this, how does it help you? let's pivot, not pivot, but like, let's just shift a little bit our perspective. And we have that ability because we're multidimensional. So when we do that, we actually can jump a timeline. But yeah, we're going to go back and forth. We're going to fall asleep. We're going to become awake. Okay, so be it. That's the human experience. But when we become awake, we can also take a look at the polarity of things and just go, okay, that's why there's that saying, there's always a silver lining. That's the polarity. That's the duality. And we just forget, and we become victims of duality and polarity. So how has anxiety actually helped you? How has it gotten you this far? Are you really that terrible or horrible of a person that you don't deserve A, B, and C? No, you just don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to navigate through it. And that's okay. That's a level of truth. That's okay. That's okay. Because energy itself doesn't give an F. They're just subatomic particles that move in a certain pattern at a certain speed. That's it. So yeah, you can learn how to control that. You definitely can learn how to control that. All right, you beautiful spiritual empath. Look, if I'm doing my work, you can do your work too. Okay? Because there's no way out of this unless you leave your earth suit. Okay? All right, beautiful empath. Thank you for traveling with me. Thank you for listening, because this also helps me in my transformation, right? So this is teamwork. We are co-creating a new reality for ourselves by choosing differently. And we're jumping into new and different storylines and timelines. So we get to edit our earthly experience. All right? So stay connected. Take care of that wonderful heart of yours. And I'll see you on the flip side. Well, our time in this now moment together has ended, but another now moment is on its way. Thank you so much for joining me in this human journey and listening to this podcast, The Portal with Terrie Huberman. I sure hope you're getting something out of it. I'm here to help you clear anxiety from the past, align your energy into the present, and help you create your future. My prayer for you is to find the peace and calmness in any given now moment, so you can recognize when blessings are afoot and you get to choose your next adventure. Be curious and stay connected. You can always find me at terriehuberman.com. Bye now.